Hey guys, it's Debbie, and I have a new guest on the show. Really fun guy, Charles Mayfield. Kind of looks like a celebrity on a favorite TV show you might know. So let me know who you think he is, who he looks like. We're going to talk about skin health. Different topic. This show is about being fit and healthy from the inside out and improving the aging process. And as I know, I turned 50 and it's been a couple years. And since then, and I don't blame the aging process, I embrace it. But my under eyes are getting puffy, saggy, wrinkles, and I've been doing all this stuff and it seems to just make it worse. So I am talking about skin fitness because I think it's an important part of aging because as athletes, we're outside. I have these tan lines from my swimsuit. I'm swimming outside in Solana Beach, master swimming around, it's 11:45 to 1 o'clock most days of the week. And I wear sunscreen on my face sometimes, but we also have more oxidative stress as athletes, exercising more. And we also want to think about liver health and toxins and what we put on our skin is important because skin is the mouth and we want to really work on reducing the toxins in our products, food that we eat, but products that we use, washing our clothes, fragrances in our house, all those sprays, incense, a lot of them are toxic. And also skincare lotion, shampoo, conditioner, all this stuff. And a lot of it, if you are gluten sensitive, a lot of these products are actually have hidden gluten in them. And I know I'm reactive to gluten. So we're going to talk about a product. Somebody's called Farrow, but more the why. And I also put on my Instagram, Nira, I've been doing this laser and trying this out. I've also been trying muesli that has dermatologic products, but estrogen, because estrogen is important for skin health for us women that are getting less estrogen. And I've been trying peptides and hydrochloric acid and all this other stuff. So I was really curious about just going simple, back to nature, talking about Farrow, and we'll tell you what that is. But this is my laser. I just want to show you that you can get, you put it up and then you just hold it and it beeps when to switch. So I'm trying to do that once, twice a day. Plus I have a red light mask from higher dose and just doing what I can do to improve my skin health. So we want to think of it as a fitness routine for your skin. So I call it skin fitness and how you can add in a good routine in the morning, nighttime. We're also working on sleep hygiene routine, and maybe your evening routine involves taking care of your skin, maybe once a week doing a nice mask on your face and working on doing the sauna, sweating, and that really helps too for your skin. So that's kind of many things I've been doing because I just not ready to be old and I feel young and vibrant and healthy, but I don't like this. So we're going to talk to Charles. Let's see how he can help us and me not have this under eye lines and see if we can help it. So let me bring him on and we'll learn more. All right, guys, we're talking skin fitness today, not just exercising, lifting weights, working on gut health, but we're working on skin health because I'm all about improving the aging process. So I brought on Charles Mayfield. And I said in the intro, Charles, you kind of look like an actor of one of our favorite TV shows. So let people guess what that one is. So
Well,
thanks for.
we'll let them guess. Yeah, we'll let them guess.
Uh, okay, so you're in Tennessee.
I am East Tennessee. Yes.
Nice. So we're going to talk about a different type of health today. And first of all, I always like to ask guests, who are you? But what is your why? What's your passion? What's your purpose? Let's just get into Who are you?
Well, yeah, thanks for the intro. It's a pleasure to be here, Debbie. And so who I am, I would call myself a health and farming enthusiast. Actually, we've known each other for some time now. I know that you were a perennial attendee at Paleo FX, which is a conference that was held for years, and I think that's actually where we met.
Yeah.
And I've been a big admirer of yours for a very long time. Certainly appreciate your message but yeah, I'm the founder of Farrow Skincare. We launched we're a Lard-based skincare company. We launched in January of 2022, and Farrow really represents a collaborative snapshot of my past. I've co-authored some cookbooks in the paleo space, ran a gym in the Atlanta area for a number of years, and I was in the CrossFit scene for a bit. CrossFit really introduced me to paleo. That introduced me to Paleo FX and actually regenerative farming. And yeah, I had a watershed moment back in 2019 around sort of skin health. And funny enough, I used to call it my paleo lens, and you know this, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. And so I had ingrained that sort of mindset into my dietary efforts and communications. But it wasn't until 2019 that I took that lens, shined it over on skincare, and wouldn't you know, skincare is equally, if not in many cases, more toxic, and the anointed arbitrators of consumer safety and advocacy have just jumped the shark. I mean, they're just not even there.
Yep.
And so that was really, I've got a couple young kids and looking at skincare and all the nasty things they allow in these products is really what spawned me to launch Farrow. And so that's me in a nutshell.
Well, it's interesting that, you got into health, into paleo originally, and that got into fitness and CrossFit, paleo have a relationship back then, and how that's led you down this path to realize eating clean is also includes what we put on our body and what we breathe in and our environment, that it's not just eating clean food, but I would say your skin is a mouth. And so what you put on your body does absorb into your through your skin into your body. So if you're putting crap in, if you're eating crap, you get crap out. If you're putting crap on your body, probably putting more toxins in your body.
Yeah, so it's our largest organ. The skin is our largest organ. And it's really the outward facing. If you think about the role a billboard, you're driving down the interstate plays. It's really our outward facing sign of health. And if you dig into the evolutionary biology and why humans see things and how we see things, our sight is really one of our most valuable tools and senses in terms of like making a gut check, quick decision. And so, a lot of the skin conditions we deal with today are really an outward symptomatic manifestation of a lot of things going on under the hood. I always make a clear delineation. You got acute skin conditions on one side of the house, and then you've got these chronic skin conditions on the other. And the acute stuff in many respects is kind of easy because it's a sunburn. That's the most common, razor burn, wind burn. These are all very common, and quite frankly, our body has evolved over many years to reduce the likelihood of that happening, but also develop a very efficient healing process around that. We were just in Austin, Texas, where we saw each other, and I stuck around for a couple extra days and ended up getting pulled into a pickleball game Tuesday in Austin. Well, I've played pickleball like once in my life, but I'm always up for a fun. And this I'll connect this real quickly. So we're on top of this parking garage in downtown Austin Tuesday afternoon. It was like 110 degrees, it's dry heat, but it's 110 degrees and I'm wearing my like Palooza shoes. I didn't pack for this, but I'm having a blast. We're one game in and I can feel the blisters starting, right? Well, I get home and, I didn't save the skin, but you, the way these blisters manifested, they popped. The old skin stayed in place to protect the young skin. We've got these really sophisticated and smart mechanisms for handling acute skin conditions. Flip that over to chronic, psoriasis, cheilitis, eczema. These are by and large, these are manifestations of something going on under the hood, usually connected to autoimmune, although I don't know that necessarily those connections have been codified in the medical data, but it's quite intuitive. And, we see this today, Debbie, with ultra processed foods. Okay. We're seeing all this nefarious health and gut health and all these problems. This has been going on in skincare actually much longer. The chemicals allowed in skincare, the toxicity allowed in skincare has been going around for a lot longer period of time. But it's death by 1,000 cuts. Our skin does absorb things. It doesn't absorb them as efficiently as something we ingest through our GI tract. But you start stacking all this stuff up, you know, poor diet and poor skin diet. You start stacking all this stuff up, and man, it's just a formula for absolute metabolic dysfunction. And so, that's a big reason why I launched the company. We're built on regenerative ag too. This was a piece of the talk I gave in Austin around utilizing animal husbandry and sort of natural systems to heal our soils. And candidly, when you do that with animals, their fat, especially pigs, is unbelievable fuel for our skin.
So going back to you're talking about the skin health and how that's related to chronic issues, and I talk a lot about functional lab testing and gut health and how a lot of those acne, psoriasis, it is, as you're saying, related to dysfunction in our gut. But how does that start? Work
Mhm.
north is what we're eating, how we're eating, and sympathetic dominant. And we're on the go, we're rushing, we're stressed out, eating whatever food, not digesting it properly, but all the junk in our food and glyphosate and all that you've talked about. But going into regenerative farming, can you just talk a little bit what that is if people aren't familiar with that? If they're not in the
Yeah,
paleo world, it's
sure.
more new.
Happy to. Yeah, and there's a couple of definitions floating around about this. So this is how I define regenerative agriculture. I can keep it really succinct. Ultimately, regenerative agriculture, from my perspective, is the process of building healthy soil. And so, this is a combination of animal agriculture and natural systems. And so, if you look at any natural system, look at how the Corn Belt in the United States was built. It was built over millennia of herding herbivores, coming through, eating the grass, defecating and urinating on the soil. That's just bioavailable organic matter going back to the soil, and then periods of rest. And so that's a natural system that, fortunately today we can actually accelerate that system. And so there's folks like Polyface Farms in Virginia, White Oak Pastures down in South Georgia. There's an international organization called the Savory Institute for your listeners that are at all interested and curious. But what we've shown now, and there's a ton of data around this, is that we can reverse desertification, which is the drying out and destruction of soil. When you do that, over time you create a desert. But also carbon sequestration, and I find it uh, entertainingly ironic that in this climate change narrative, today they're blaming cow farts and animal agriculture for climate change. Whether that's even, I mean, obviously the climate's always. I'm old enough to remember articles about we were going to freeze to death, and that, and now we're going to
Yeah.
burn to death.
Yeah.
And but the irony here is, and this has been proven out in a regenerative farming model, which again, at its core competency, it's building soil. Well, to build healthy soil, you have to deposit organic matter back on the ground, and you have to lean into photosynthesis, the sun, our greatest energy source, and you need to lean into the natural capacity of these herbivores. Cow is the most common, but your bison, your elk, your wildebeest, elephants for that matter. And so you lean into what these animals do best, which is mow.
Hmm.
They mow, and then they take this fibrous, material that we can't process, grasses and forbs, and they turn it into protein. But more importantly, they also turn it into organic matter when it's dumped back on the soil. And so that that it seems like a long-winded answer to your question, but at the end of the day, a regenerative agriculture model is building soil, is inclusive of animals, okay? Because a lot of the healthy living these days is sort of based in the vegan agenda. We don't need to spend a lot of time there, but to build healthy soil, you have to have healthy, happy animals, and they need to be doing what God anointed them to do, which is
Grace.
yes, yes. So there you go.
Yeah, I just was at we're somewhat near San Diego Safari Zoo, and I went there my first time last month. And you get to see in the safari part how the elephants and all the animals, well, there's 10 of them just roaming around, grazing.
Oh
They're
yeah,
just
yeah.
playing. That's just what they do.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that. I still take my kids to zoos. We have a little bit different conversation about it, a zoo than sort of what my reminiscent childhood was. Pointing out the goods and the bads. But this is a zoo is a micro representation of part of the problem with animal agriculture, certainly in the United States today, which is they're confined to a single space, right? So, we've got somebody going in there and shoveling up all the poop, so it doesn't get built up, but confined to a very small space, and they don't move anywhere. And animals move, and the land needs to rest. I think it's a 1 or 2 acre patch outside the University of Nebraska, and they have held onto the ancient pasture land that existed there. So this is thousands of years old, but they've kept it in its natural state. And through the cycle of nature, things grow and then they reach senescence, and it's a grain or a grass, so it's going to dry. But this stuff gets like 12, 15 feet tall. These grasses, these natural plains grasses, and if you can just imagine, you know, uh, you know, amber waves of grain, and the pasture and the landscape in this country used to be these unbelievably proficient grasses that were constantly mowed and tended to by the herding animals that anointed our landscape.
So people probably wondering, "Well, how is this related to my skin health?"
Love
How
it.
we're connecting it to it. So talk about how this led you, how you got to creating Farrow, and we'll talk about what it is. I've got my mind here, but what you were saying earlier that you got passionate about the ingredients that are in products and how they're toxic, and you were into paleo regenerative farming. How did that lead you to creating skincare line?
Yeah, sure. I was raising pigs, among other animals. I had a sort of a micro farm, growing meat for a number of people. I got a really awful sunburn, again, one of the probably more common acute skin conditions. And, I came home. It was late at night. I live in a small town. All the pharmacies are closed. And I mean, Debbie, this was probably a borderline uh, uh, hit degree burn. I mean, it was gnarly. And I had been raising pigs and rendering their lard for cooking,
Mm.
And in an act of desperation and half curiosity, I was like, my skin's on fire. Let me just try this stuff. And so I put it on, and I put it on at night, put it on the next morning. I should also say, like, when I put it on, I went hard in the paint. Like, I just lathered up. I looked like a greased pig. And ironically, or surprisingly, in about 5 to 10 minutes, it was as if I had not put it on at all. Like, my skin literally ate this stuff. And so that was cool. Sunburn, I put it on twice. Sunburn was gone in about 3 days, which was great. I never peeled. Like, not one little stitch of my skin peeled. And you know this. I mean, if you get a bad sunburn, at some point, you're peeling. Uh, I've had some pretty epic sunburns in my day, and from time to time, it was 2 or 3 weeks down the road before things finally got dried up enough. But it was that moment where I thought, man, that's pretty special. And so started doing some research. And again, I don't know skincare, it's not my world, but started trying to make creams and looking at the ingredient lists. And again, all of a sudden I'm starting to pull this over from the paleo keto carnivore history that I had. And that's when the light bulb really went off. And so, yeah, we were talking before we hit record. Hunter gatherers are kind of the uh, original endurance athlete. And if you think about what a hunter did, 1,000 years ago, they were on their feet all day, in many respects, running animals. So what you learn about herbivores is a lot of them don't have the necessary. They're not like horses; they can't just run forever. But a lot of bison, the yaks, wildebeest, some of these animals, they're not built for prolonged zone 2 cardio, we'll call it that, right? And so a lot of hunting and gathering many years ago was a nice, slow, steady state of running to tire this animal out so it's basically exhausted. So you get up in the morning, you go run 10 miles, five, you bring down your prey, and then you got to haul it back to camp, so you're carrying things. But the thing that people don't understand about these hunter gatherers is, or we forget about, is they were intimately elbow deep in the viscera and fat of an animal, right? Because you kill an animal, you take an animal's life, you then have to break that animal down and to turn it into food. It's just we're not like lions and just sit there and tear them apart. And so, you know, realistically, the skincare, the here you go. The more people as a percentage of the population that have migrated away from the weekly, monthly, regular harvesting of their food, okay, the greater the skincare industry has grown. Because in the cooking your food, hunting and gathering your food, you're intimately involved in and connected with animal fat. And if you look at skincare today, so what's wrong with skincare today? Let's go over that real
Big
quick. Is
list.
that a reasonable
Yeah.
thread to pull on? Yeah. So
Yes.
what's wrong with skincare today? We'll start at the top. The regulation and the chemicals allowed in skincare, certainly in the United States of America, is beyond abhorrent. The legislation was passed in 1938. I think the only chemicals that required pre-market safety testing were color additives. And this is 1938. That act it's the Food and Cosmetics Act of 1938. That act has been updated, I think, 3 times. Cosmetics has been excluded every single time. And so the consumer safety that we have overseeing cosmetics and skincare today was written in 1938 and hasn't been updated. And think about all the chemicals that we've, and waste products from the industrial scene that we've been able to isolate and utilize. And so it's the chemicals. When you make a skin cream today, you emulsify fat with water. So the skincare is a fat business, okay? And so when you add fat and water together, you're creating an environment for bacteria to grow. And so there are chemicals that have to be used in that product to keep bacteria from growing. Otherwise, a week later you've got this rancid toxic goop that no one's going to put on their skin. And so
Hopefully.
yeah. And so, our body, I know you talk about this quite a bit, but our body is covered in bacteria. Our gut is lined with bacteria. We have bacteria in every conceivable uh, nook and cranny of our
Orifice.
bodies. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, all over. And so topically, to put a cream on your skin that's designed to kill bacteria, probably not so good. So we've got water-based with toxicity, and then we've got if you look across the board, we've got this influx now of seed oils, petroleum derivatives, plant, in the skincare is a fat-based industry. Okay. So yeah, and if you look at the old Egyptian texts, it was anointing people with olive oil and this, that, and the other. So these are all fats. Well, in today's world, most of those fats have been replaced by petroleum derivatives, seed oils, cheap fats, cheap non-animal based fats. And so, I'm not here to bemoan or downplay coconut oil as a potential option, but you're not a coconut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it blows my mind. People, I get this all the time. Well, I put coconut oil on my skin, and I'm like, you'd probably be better off eating the coconut oil, using it to fry things and various
Mm-hmm.
things, than you would putting it on your skin, because your skin doesn't recognize you're not a coconut, right? You're not a shea.
Mm.
Now that's a way better sell than say petrolatum or even like a rapeseed oil. Again, our skin has evolved over hundreds of millions of years, but certainly hundreds of thousands of years to its environment. And 99% of the garbage in skincare today did not exist 100 years ago, right? And so now we're putting this stuff on our skin, and so we're an animal fat-based skincare company. We lead with lard. For your listeners that don't know, lard comes from pigs. Okay, the animal fat skincare market, albeit tiny relative to the overall skin market, is dominated by tallow, which comes from a ruminant animal, most commonly beef. And we love tallow. I use tallow in our product. Tallow, because you're not a cow, you're not a ruminant, you're not an herbivorous ruminant, you're an omnivore. Okay. And so and I just hear this all the time. A lot of folks will say, well, the tallow sort of sits up on my skin, I don't feel like it soaks in. And so we fold tallow into our product to act as a finishing barrier to our product. So moisturize with the lard, but then there's this sort of uh, there's a little left over on the surface. And of course, you've used our product, you understand that. But I say all that to say we're the first lard game in town. This was my talk in Austin. The lard works in mysterious ways. If
I
you
love that.
raise a healthy, happy pig, okay, in my world, I say one bad day, because bacon is delicious, barbecue is delicious. That animal deserves to be raised in a way that allows it to live its best life. And then, we have one bad day. Well, I'm here to say, in addition to bacon, here's this lard, which you can certainly cook with, but it is perhaps the most ideal skincare food for your skin that you can find anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, food for your skin, I think, is a good thing. So just putting all this together, what we talked about earlier, regenerative farming. So we get better soil. The soil's enriched with minerals, and then the animals are eating this food from the land, and then we're getting better mineral rich, but just better quality animals that we're getting the fat. So it kind of passes down. And then from the fat from the little piggy, we're getting that good, the lard is more Does it have more minerals in it, or what is in lard? Is it just fat? Is there any
Yeah.
nutrition value
So
to it?
great. No, great question. So again, back to the skincare lens, right? Skincare. So you got pH. Okay. So the pH of whatever you put on your skin, think battery acid, right?
Mm,
We roll around right at about neutral, right? I think 7.2 to 6.8. Our skin's
yeah.
very neutral. It's not acidic or basic, but uh, so skincare is really about getting as close to neutral as possible. Okay. In fact, a lot of the chemicals, again, read the labels. A lot of those chemicals that are in industrial skincare will monkey with the pH, and so they got to put something else in to sort of round it out.
Mm,
But skincare is about pH. There's number one. Secondarily, it's about lipid balance. Okay, so the balance between monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fats. Again, skincare is a fat-based industry. Okay, and then the third piece is it naturally occurring or synthetic? Okay. And that goes for fat, that goes for vitamins and minerals. You'll know this, coach. Hyaluronic acid. Okay. Retinol. These are buzzwords in the skincare industry. Well,
mm,
retinol is vitamin A. It's
mm-hmm.
not, it's nothing beyond vitamin A. Okay. But we call it retinol because that makes it sexy. And we also synthesize retinol and inject it into products. Okay. Well, if you raise a healthy, happy animal, especially a pig, they'll metabolize vitamin D from the sun, just like we do. They'll metabolize vitamin E from and A from their diet, and they deposit that into their subcutaneous fat to store. They use it, but they also save it, right? Just like we do. And so these naturally occurring non-synthetic uh, vitamins and minerals are more recognizable, more metabolizable by our skin, by our GI tract. You remember, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, these Beyond Burger, Beyond Meat got in a crap ton of trouble. I caught myself there. I don't know if this is a PG or G rated show, so
I think it's
forgive me
okay.
there, but they got out of trouble. Why? Because they on the package it said whatever 19 grams of protein per serving. Well, the reality is that's P-based protein, and we don't metabolize and absorb P-based protein
Mhm.
at nearly the same rate that we do, say, 19 grams of beef or pork or chicken.
Yeah.
Okay. So they got in a whole lot of hot water. In fact, I forget the fines they had to pay. I forget what they had to do their packaging,
Mm,
but skincare is no different. And so if you look at the labels on these products, again, there is a 99.9% chance that if it says vitamin A enriched or this, that, and the other, you can bet your bottom dollar that is a synthetically created, lab-born vitamin or mineral, and we're not going to absorb it as well, right?
mhm.
And so those are really the sort of the big tenets. Now, how does that relate again back to lard? Lard is the lipid balance is a perfect spot on match to human biology, which is why we use pigs to train our surgeons. I think we harvest over 20 different hormones from pigs and use them directly in humans. There was a line in my talk that said, I don't know what's more life saving, bacon or an EpiPen, right? But we harvest epinephrine from pigs to make EpiPens, right?
Yeah.
So the biology there is an absolute spot on match. Now, not all pigs and not all lard is created equal. Again, just like a human, you raise a human in a poor environment, you feed a human poorly, they don't get a lot of sun. That is a sick human being. Okay, so
Mm.
these pigs have to. They're pigs are four-legged humans. I mean, at the end of the day, I know they're
So
not, but they
we're
are
really all
really.
pigs.
It's
You're
we're
saying I'm a
the
pig.
well, the closing line in my talk was the last line from Orwell's Animal Farm, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like they looked through the window and they couldn't tell the pig from man or the man from pig, and blah 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 blah. And it's like we're pigs, y'all. So
Yeah,
uh, so,
that's
but
funny.
anyway, so to bring it back to skincare, if your skin walked up to a buffet line of fats, okay, it would preferentially gorge itself on animal fat, and taking it a step further, it would focus on animal fats that come from animals that are most similar to our biology. And I have to say, outside, we don't have a lot of monkey fat floating around, right? They've climbed the ladder of, we're not going to eat you for food, right? So monkeys are over here in a different sector of animals. But for it, when it comes to domestic meat and growing meat for consumption, pigs are at the absolute top of the list of shared human biology. And
Mm.
so, at the end of the day, am I promoting optimal skincare? Absolutely. Am I also simultaneously promoting these animals are unbelievable? They're literally modern day heroes. From the medical application, they deserve the very best and most efficacious and enjoyable life that they can have. And then at the end, we eat them.
Hmm. So we talked about nutrient density, the food we eat, but also you're saying skin food is
Mm-hmm.
kind of nutrient density skincare products. So we're getting the most we can out of the products that are going to actually absorb into our skin at a faster rate and give us the fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. So is
Mm-hmm.
that you get vitamin D in there? You said
Oh yeah.
A and E, but I'm sure you get
Yeah.
all of them.
Again, think about the biology, right?
Mm-hmm.
A pig is going to metabolize and store all the big vitamins and minerals that a human would, if you give it the opportunity to do that.
To
So raising them
thrive.
outside, sun exposure,
Yeah.
there's a big thing in the pork world about high PUFA pork, polyunsaturated fatty acids. And so you need to stay away from feeding that pig the wrong. I mean, Debbie, thank God we're an omnivore, right? Because being able to sort of survive on almost anything you put in your mouth is kind of nice. Pig's the same way.
Yeah.
However, I think we've taken that omnivorous, you know, uh, omnivorous characteristic to way too far out,
Mm.
and so just because we can eat everything doesn't mean that we should eat
Mhm.
everything when you look at it through the lens of optimal health,
Mhm.
right? There's surviving and there's thriving. And so in order for your skin to thrive, this human billboard of ours, then we need to feed it properly. And the pig is the most efficacious animal to metabolize and store the vitamins and minerals that our body and skin specifically require. Okay. Um, here's one for you. Uh, Lard is the closest exogenous material on planet Earth to human sebum, which is the oil that our glands produce.
Mhm.
Okay. And, think about the litany of various scenarios where we might want to get a little greasier. Our glands go into sort of overtime mode. And so, yeah, I mean, that to me
Okay.
says everything.
Mhm. Yeah. So a thought was, well, one, I wrote down optimal, and I think being optimal versus normal. I talk about this all the time when I'm looking at clients' labs, and the doctors say you're normal, and right. Let's look at it in a different lens. Are you normal based on sick people, or do you want to be optimal? Do you strive to thrive as you age, or do you just want to survive? So I think those are perfect words that correlate with everything I'm on a mission about, is that improving the aging process, being healthy from the inside out. It is, as we already said, what we eat, but what we consume externally too and on our skin. And I actually started making my own skincare products years ago just for a Christmas gift. And it was so easy. But I understand what you're saying, because I was using coconut oil and shea butter and putting essential oils in it and adding vitamin E and this and that. But this is just simple. But I'll finish up with, how do you explain to people that just because it's lard from a pig, that they can't just save their cooked bacon and save it in a dish and cool it and then put that on their face? It's a little different, I'm sure.
Well, this is going to be a fun answer. So, they could. Now, everyone thinks my product, here we go. I got our skin food right here.
Yeah.
I'm in our little fulfillment office here in my house. You got the face food there. I love it.
Yeah.
So everyone thinks my product's going to smell like bacon because the
No.
only interaction in this day and age, the only interaction they have with rendered pork fat is bacon
Bacon.
drippings.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would tell your listener, I love this thread got pulled a lot this past weekend. There's bad, good, better, best, with any subject matter. And so uh, again, if it's a lard based, pork based product, I'd want to know where the pig came from and how
Yeah.
it was raised. Okay.
Yes.
Having said that, I would put factory farmed bacon renderings, assuming you like the smell. There's a lot of jokes about people make,
Bacon
they pick
perfume.
their bacon. Yeah, yeah, I smell like bacon. But in all seriousness, I would put that fat preferentially over the top of almost anything you can buy at the pharmacy, right? Even if
So,
the pig lives an abhorrent life and was injected with this and treated with that, I would still put that bacon smelling, sap. I would put that preferentially over the top of, um, anything you buy walking in the CVS or your local pharmacy. Um,
but
taking
if
that
it's
a step. Go ahead.
okay, well, no, finish your thought and then I'll throw it in.
Well, so skincare is also about scents and aromatherapy, and I mean, we have a whole esthetician world about because we can invoke a number of different feelings and emotions based on what we smell, and so uh, the rendered bacon fat is it's not going to smell. It's going to smell like bacon. So if you want to walk around smelling like bacon all day, and everyone else in your friend group is cool with it, then
They're
by
going to
all
come
means
up and
lather
start
up.
smelling.
Sure,
Mm.
but we wet render all of our fat. Okay, the cooking bacon is called, it's a dry rendering process. So it's only heat, no water. And when you wet render, which is how we create all of the lard and leaf lard and tallow for our products, when you wet render it, you keep things from burning, and you're not really cooking any meat. See, bacon's half meat, half fat, right? And so with the production of lard or leaf lard or tallow, you're just taking there's a little bit of meaty bits in it because you've got this biological material that you're working with, but you grind that all up. You put a little water in the pan to keep it from burning, and it's a very clean. I mean, you've got, is that our unscented product you've got there? Probably have a little dark line across the bottom.
I have my blue blockers on, not my readers, so I can't
Oh,
even
no,
read.
that's our scented product, okay?
Okay.
Which is fine. We get put a little our scented skin food and face food have grapefruit, lavender, and sandalwood. But
Ooh.
our unscented product, this
Mhm.
again back to ingredient lists. That product has 7 ingredients in it. Our unscented product has 4: leaf lard, tallow, lard, and honey. And so, in terms of,
Oh,
again,
yeah,
back
this
to
says
the,
honey.
yeah, we put a little honey in our product, but again,
Honey,
back to like,
grapefruit, lavender.
yeah, if you can't pronounce the ingredients, you shouldn't eat it.
Michael
I would
Pollan,
say,
Food Rules.
absolutely. I would
Best book.
say if you can't pronounce the ingredients, you shouldn't put it on your skin. So,
Yeah, if you look at ingredients of food of skincare products, I mean, I don't usually shop at Vaughn, Safeway, kind of main grocery stores. I go to more of the natural show products grocery stores, but it's the biggest list of ingredients on the if people read. It's same thing with food. Why don't people read the ingredients of the skincare products they use or the household products? Like read the back of the label, read the ingredients as you should do for your food. But question back up a moment, but the cooking the bacon, what I think of first is when I cook bacon, well, with Neil, I'm not a very good cook, but my husband is. Bacon, it's always try not to get it black because it's more carcinogenic. But I would think, cooking we usually save that fat and put in a dish to cook
Mhm.
with, like we do broccoli or something, or cook it, eggs in it. So it's good for cooking. But if I would think it would have some carcinogenic effect versus like your type of clean lard versus bacon fat,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be some carcinogen?
Yeah, great thread to pull on there. So, a couple things: are you baking your bacon, or are you frying your bacon? Are you cooking it in a pan, or have you ever tried baking it in the oven?
Yeah, we do it in the oven all the time. Broil.
Okay, fantastic. Um, so lard, which is what you're rendering when you cook bacon, lard has the highest, I believe this is, it's the highest or the second highest smoke point of any naturally occurring fat. And that's a loose term, but think pre-industrial age naturally occurring. We've had olive oil forever. We've had butter forever. We've had lard and tallow forever. But some of these more modern rapeseed, canola, these are all very, very new fats. And,
Mhm.
that's a talk for another day about how much
For
they're
Kate
ruining our
Shanahan.
health. Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. So, yeah, what does she have? The Hateful Eight or the something
And
like
Hateful
that?
Eight. Man, her new
Yeah,
book
yeah,
out.
I love Kate's work. Um, and so it's got one of the highest smoke points. Okay, well, what does that tell me? That tells me that I can cook with it with a lower incidence of oxidation, right? Smoke points, when it's we're burning this sucker now, right? And so as you're cooking your bacon, again, I tell people bake it in the oven. If you know what you're doing, you're going to bake it in the oven. You can keep the temperature a little lower, and really sort of slow cook your bacon. Now, if you like it crispy versus limp, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I feel perfect, especially Debbie, especially if the pork is sourced from a reliable, regenerative source.
Mhm.
Then I feel perfectly comfortable telling anybody, hey man, you can gobble that stuff up on anything. And I'll add to that because again, I end up having these conversations about PUFAs and all this other stuff. If you're so augured into the wormhole that is metabolic health, you're worried about your broccoli in bacon renderings. Okay. I would just ask you to look around. Like, what are you cleaning your house with? What are you wearing? How many times, are you on your phone and your head's down? There's just so many other low-hanging fruit items that water, what kind of water are you drinking? Like, filter that stuff. And
Yeah.
so, that once or twice a week maybe situation where you're dosing yourself with some, arguably much healthier rendered pig fat versus the glasses of water you drink every day or the air freshener you're hanging in your car. I mean, the rampant rise of synthetic fragrances and ingredients are everywhere. Um,
That
so
comes to the liver, though. Is that are you getting to the liver toxicity of the liver? How we overwhelm it with all these chemicals and endocrine disruptors in the environment with the chemicals and natural flavorings that are really chemicals and all this stuff in our food and our products we use and how they overwhelm our liver. And we get so many people with signs and symptoms of congested liver that we have to really take into account, what products we're using on our
sure.
body. But
Yeah, I would put lard from any source. I would put it preferentially above, any of the seed oils. Uh, Again, if the PUFAs are close because of the pig's environment to seed oils, it's a fat we've been eating for thousands of years. The first pigs were domesticated over 13,000 years ago. Our first animal we domesticated for food. We
mm,
co-evolved and domesticated dogs, wolves, way further back, right? But we have been dining on swine for a very long time, and arguably we ate more pork 150 years ago than we eat beef, just
mm,
because a,
yeah.
a, a pig's way more productive. You can raise a pig and slaughter it at full size in less than a year. Try doing that with a cow. It takes 2 years
Hmm.
to grow a baby calf up to, fully formed skeletal growth, all the intermuscular fat you want. That process takes a long time. And, Debbie, again, back to sort of our hunter-gatherer roots. 100 years ago, you and your husband are living out on the prairie in what is now San Diego. What are you going to do if you kill a 1,500-pound cow? Like, there's no tractors, there's no mechanical equipment. And my God, there's no refrigeration. What are you going to do with all that meat? And so to be able to raise not just one, but the average pig litter is anywhere from 6 to 12 piglets. And so you can have a mama and a daddy pig, and they get together once a year and they make 8 bacon bits for you. And you can manage a 150, 200-pound pig. You can hang it
Yeah.
up. You can eviscerate it without much strain. I mean, it's still 200 pounds, but it's not 2,000 pounds.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, we used to eat way more. I mean, we eat a lot of pork now, but the low point for pork in this country was the mid 80s. Pork reached the absolute bottom of the barrel. Chicken, the industrial chicken movement had come along, and we were much more able to process and build the beef industry because we had reliable refrigeration. Again, we take all this stuff for granted today, but in 1987, the Pork the Other White Meat campaign began. You remember those?
Yeah.
Remember those commercials? For your listeners, if the pork is white, it is not good pork, because
Oh, funny.
pork is not naturally white. It is a red
Hmm.
meat. You need to have a rose colored or pink or even red muscle coloration on pork. That's how you know it's from the industrial
Oh,
model.
funny.
So
Didn't know that.
there you go.
Hey, going back to the lard for your skincare versus coconut, because I know a lot of people are like coconut's natural, coconut oil is good to cook and eat. And so you said it before, but just summarize the difference of having lard versus coconut oil for skincare.
Well, again, coconut oil, arguably one of the plant-based fats that we've been in contact with for the longest. However, you're not a coconut. And so when you start talking about your pores and clogging and acne and various things like that, I'm not saying that coconut oil isn't beneficial to the skin, okay? But if we're talking about good, better, best,
Mm,
you're not a
yeah,
coconut. And
yeah.
so, again, good, better, best. If you're in a pinch and you've got, your skin's dry or your skin's burned or whatever, and you don't have any lard laying around, am I against you using coconut? Absolutely not. But it's a good, better, best situation. The lipids are
Hmm.
spot on match.
Mm.
A coconut tree is not going to metabolize vitamin A, E, D in the same capacity, stored in the same way, just because it's not a mammal. It's not a lot of things that we are. So I'm not here to. I'm trying not to talk bad about coconut oil. Hell, I
Yeah, just
love
the
to cook with
differences.
it too. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
just different good, better, best.
But I
Well,
think that the antioxidant part of it, right? It's like the A and the E in lard versus coconut oil. You're not getting that.
I need to brush up on my coconut oil
I'll have to look it
mineral
up.
content. Yeah, Debbie, I find myself saying this a lot. If you can just close your eyes and get a little intuitive, just a hair intuitive. It's like coconut hanging from a tree, animal that we harvest 20 plus
Yes,
hormones from,
makes
use their
sense.
heart valves to repair human heart valves. Like, which
Mm,
one of these
yeah,
biologically is a better match for us? And so,
exactly. That's a good summary. I know it is talking about intuition. My Aura ring just died a couple of weeks ago. Won't charge. I have to get a new one. And my Garmin watch died a couple of days ago. So I have to run with actually just paying attention to my body. No heart rate monitor, no heart rate variability, no deep sleep score. It's like, what did we do before all these gadgets? Intuition. Learn how to
yeah,
get back and pay attention to how you actually feel and what makes sense rather than relying on all these external devices that might not be 100% accurate. We
Well,
forget.
we have they're tools, right? They're
Yeah,
tools. But just like a tool can turn into a crutch very quickly. And
it is.
this was my experience. I was zone dieting before paleo came along. And the
The
zone
40,
is
30, 30.
well, I mean, well, you can tinker with it, right? Zone is
Mm,
an amazingly powerful tool if
mm-hmm,
you're a professional athlete,
mm.
right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a professional. I love CrossFit and I love being in shape and all that. But at the end of the day, I got so augured into counting almonds and making sure all the numbers are right. That's an unhealthy place too. And so,
Yeah.
I love my Whoop. And I have to check myself, because I've had Whoop issues. My Whoop went out for like 2 days while I was in Austin seeing you, and there's just all this. Oh my God, it's like, give me a break, man. And so be careful that a tool doesn't turn into a crutch.
It,
Would be
I
would be the lesson there.
I know. So I know we have to wrap up, but I know you said you're going to Wise Traditions Conference in Orlando this October, Nashville Bitcoin Conference. What's your
Bitcoin's going to be a hoot. That one's going to be nuts. I believe this will be my first Bitcoin conference. That's July
how's that to do
20.
with
What's that?
25th, 27th of July? How's
Yeah,
that have to
yeah.
do with are there healthy people, health optimizers there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Bitcoin community is quite remarkably highly correlated with, some of these other tangential world, ponds that we swim in, health, food freedom. This is usually through the lens of like of monetary policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Non-fiat monetary policy. But yes, I take Bitcoin on our website for my product. And so I've got a nice little entree. We don't get a ton of Bitcoin for Farrow, but we get some. And yes, there is, I will tell you, and it'll be a hoot now. Nash, they're expecting 15,000 people a day. Oh yeah,
Wow,
it's going to
that's
be
a lot.
nuts.
In
Yeah.
Nashville too, so it'll be crazy.
Oh yeah. Nashville's a riot these days.
Wow.
So
And so if people want to learn more, they can, what's the website? X.com,
Farrow,
Fair Life.
FARROW.life is our
Okay.
website. And I have for your listeners, a low carb athlete
Yeah.
uh, code to save them 15% on our products. They're welcome to try it out. Yeah, any of our products are going to work great on your skin. We have a face specific product. You could use it on your body if you want to. We have a skin specific, neck down product. You can use it on
Mhm.
your face if you want to. Our Epic Dermis, the tube product that we actually debuted last year in Austin. Uh, I I got to tell you a quick funny story. So I'm on my way to Austin last year to debut this stuff at KetoCon. And I picked up the first batch because my little co-packer we make the creams, but they put it in the tubes. They're just outside of Houston. So I flew into Houston. I'm at the airport. I'm going to get my car. I got this stuff, right? I picked it up. And oh yeah. And so I've picked it up and now I'm on my way to Austin. Well, I had a couple of samples in my bag, and there happened to be like a huge Ironman triathlon going on in
Oh,
Houston that
yeah.
very weekend. And so I'm in line with this couple, and the husband was doing the Ironman. They're from Atlanta. And we start talking. I was like, well, I'm just launching this product and I happen to have a sample. I was like, here, try it out. And he's like, how do I use it? And I was like, when the race is over and you're chafed from head to toe from I was like, use this stuff. And so I will tell you, listeners, I know you sort of lean into the endurance world. If you've got a burn or
Chafing.
anything, friction, chafing,
Hmm.
sunburn, anything, if you this is the most unbelievable stuff ever.
Nice. Yeah, I think chafing, that's a good market, especially for cyclists and
Hmm.
running in humidity. I know like back of my shorts will get chafing marks if I'm in somewhere humid running as Austin, Texas.
Yep.
Any tag or anything on your shorts just irritates your skin. So using the eye cream, I know I was trying to put it down here because I get thin skin and just trying to prevent
Yeah.
getting all old and wrinkly. put it on.
Anywhere.
Yeah. And I just think, people, I was saying this in the intro, but just to wrap it up, that we need that sleep routine and creating a skin routine morning and night too. And taking care of your health isn't just the exercise part and figuring out your nutrition, but there's what I call the holistic method, working on your nutrition, exercise, plus stress management, plus sleep optimization and movement and the gut health, digestion. But it's what you're saying is, base food and skincare is important part of that holistic approach to be aging gracefully and improving that process so you're thriving as you age, not just trying to survive, and being optimal, not normal.
That's
I
right.
think it's
And
great.
yeah, the good news for your listener is uh so I love the low hanging fruit, sleep, healthy food. Yeah, and I very much appreciate your commitment to really sticking to, I mean, obviously you can auger into some really, I love the hormone work you do and all of that. But, at the end of the day, starting with the basics,
Yeah.
and I would say putting down skincare from the pharmacy is
Mhm.
a great low hanging fruit basic start. If you do that, your skin health will actually improve. If you want to accelerate that or add sort of a skin recovery component to it, then our product is certainly well suited for that.
Right. Well, thanks so much, and follow you on Instagram is your main
Yeah, that's our
place.
main channel, Farrow Skin on Instagram. I'm trying to get better about. I do lives, but we're trying to get into the reel department. But in our website, and yeah, if you can, Instagram is probably the best place to come along for the ride.
Yeah, me as well. It's easier, more fun. All right. Thanks so much for your time today and fun information.